trying to figure out what kind of train wreck this is going to be. So, welcome to Warhammered, where we're all about just games, drinks, and hijinks. I would tell you more what the show's about, but
we're not sure.
Yeah,
we
not
have
sure.
No idea what it is.
So, I'm Jazz. Across from me is the so lovely Big Jim.
I'm Big Jim because we have another Jim.
Because we have another Jim, which I think we're going to go by. Are you Beer Jim or are we going with Hanson? Which one are we?
Beer Jim.
We're going to go Beer Jim. So we have Big Jim and Beer Jim?
Big Jim, Beer Jim.
Yeah, that won't get confusing at
all. It won't.
So we like to get around and talk about all the stuff that makes us happy, which is typically either alcohol or games. Mm-hmm. And so we decided it would be a good idea to sit in a circle and talk into a microphone about all of it.
Absolutely.
So I guess some of this is going to come with some warning labels. So we're going to talk a lot about lore, especially Warhammer lore, because we're all a huge fan of the universe. There's also probably going to be some D&D lore that gets thrown in, just kind of gaming in general, because that's what we're going to do. So this is not a Warhammer exclusive podcast. It will feature heavily, regardless of but the title's clever.
But if you're here to learn something about the Warhammer universe,
wrong channel.
Let me tell you something right now. And don't get mad. Don't be writing in the comments like, oh, that's bullshit. The Emperor said this 3,000 years ago. Look, guy, we're doing the best we can, okay? We're drinking booze. We're having a good time. And if I don't get who fucking said what to whom, because he's whatever the fuck, relax. We'll be fine.
But you brought a crib sheet with all.
I had to because you brought
a sheet. Like
sometimes I don't know a death guard from a fucking Emperor's children.
I'm
fucking
by it.
Yeah, I had to. I absolutely had to.
Yeah.
But in proper capitalist faction, we decided to start a podcast where we were going to drink. So the first thing we did was get a podcast that had booze.
Yeah.
So we are, I guess. Well, we're proud. We'll see what Second Pitch has to say about it after the show goes on the air.
Maybe it's the one episode.
We are proud to say that Warhammered is actually sponsored by Second Pitch Beer Company here in.
Yes. Cease and desist from Games Workshop.
Right,
immediately.
Be the best thing that could ever happen to either one of our companies. Is that right?
It will go right next to our awards.
So Second Pitch Beer Company actually does sponsor the show, and Beer Jim has the name Beer Jim because he actually owns Second Pitch Beer Company.
I'm the owner of Second Pitch Beer Company here in San Antonio, Texas. We've been open for about 2 years. We make some pretty high quality beers that people are really enjoying, and we're going to drink a lot of them while we're here, talk about them, and then really get deep into some real nerdy shit.
So beer nerd or game nerd, there's just a lot of nerdy shit that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that being said, I've been sitting here staring at this fucking glass because
I brought some fun stuff.
You brought some fun stuff tonight.
So I brought, we did, our first year that we were open, we did something called the Krampus. It's our Christmas seasonal. It's a Belgian quad that rolls in at about 11.8%. Yeah, so it's a big one. But we did a really fun thing, and now we're getting into the nerd shit, is it's a bottle condition. So we fermented it in the bottle. So that was, all the carbonation is kept in the bottle, fermented naturally, the way they used to do back in the day when they were making beers just in the bottle.
So this essentially
is this a special bottle, though? Do you have to get a different kind of bottle to do that kind of thing?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, because it has to be rated for so much pressure and that kind of stuff, because the amount of pressure you needed to do that is...
So unlike most of it where you'd actually be adding the carbonation.
Correct.
Everything that's bubbles or anything that has to do with that, this is from... It got put in the bottle. You sealed it, and now it's.
And then we add priming sugar to it, and then we add more yeast to it, and that yeast will eat that sugar that we added in and create CO2 that is then used to carbonate the beer.
Rock
because
on.
it has nowhere to go. That pressure has nowhere to go and stays in the bottle.
Can we drink it now?
Yeah, of course. You want to drink it now?
I want to drink it.
You want to drink it now?
Yeah, I want to drink it now.
I was kind of like, because I was pretty sure that Jazz wanted to murder me with the carbonation. Like he was hoping that thing was just gonna go blast.
I knew it wasn't gonna pop. Like
I had concerns. Just because of the look on your damn face when you were doing it.
Well, I didn't want to be the only one in the room that shot you.
Fuck off. We'll get.
Thank you, sir.
We'll get to that in another episode.
So, This is the 2020 version. Okay. This is the 2020 version of our Krampus. This is our library series.
Well, so I guess here's to episode 1.
Yeah. Cheers.
And many more.
Good, sir.
He even brought fancy glasses and everything.
They actually say 2021.
All right.
Yeah, so this is the 2021.
Hey,
and then
Pinky's out, Jim.
Funny guy.
Yeah, that does nicely. A lot of stone fruit, plum.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't. I'm
You're not a big beer guy.
I'm not a big beer guy. But
This isn't.
I wouldn't even call this a beer. This isn't.
Thing. Yeah, it's not. It goes kind of when you get into this kind of higher level of brewing, it gets to its own beast.
Yeah,
really by itself. Like you're more of like aging and pulling out flavors that you really, really.
There's some other of those like really high craft beers that I'd struggle to call beers. Yeah, Delirium did that one that was crazy out there. Utopia from Sam Adams that did that crazy beer.
Yeah.
And really, you can't look at it and be like, well, it's the 4 ingredients and whatever. Like, this is just such an elevated version of making something that
exactly. And so
it's really something special.
I brought the 2020 version and we brought the 2021, and unfortunately, we didn't make it this year because we're just absolutely insane right now with busyness.
I know it's crazy that you're having to make the rest of us suffer because you're doing well. That's awful. So speaking of, you ready for the smooth transition? Yeah. So speaking of special brews, you actually play a specific faction that actually makes their own booze.
Yeah, I'm a space wolf.
Look at that. So
don't kink shame me.
And I want everybody to kind of get an idea of who we are from a gaming perspective and stuff like that. And it's actually how we met. You heard about the bar.
Yes.
Walked in here and literally
it's like I make beer and I like Warhammer. And you're like,
it was like, let's sell Warhammer.
As it turns out, I have an outlet for this.
Yeah. And you were like, I own a Warhammer store and I like beer. And
it was like we're friends now. Like that was the end of the conversation.
Like left foot, right foot.
Yeah. So. But your faction actually makes their own beer.
Yes.
Because here's our first piece of it's official lore, right? Mm-hmm. Essentially, Space Marines can't get drunk. Their system, they can. It just takes work.
It takes work. It takes a lot of high alcohol. So there's a lot of lore attached to the Space Wolves where they get drunk. And then stuff happens. Over. And then stuff happens. They get hung over the next day.
Yeah. So, and it has to do with their whole physiology and like, hey, look, we've got bonus organs and shit like that, right?
And that's what it is. And then that's their Mjord is what they drink is considered like a poison to anybody else who would drink it.
Okay. So what will it take to convince Second Pitch to make Mjord?
I need a letter from Games Workshop that says I won't sue my ass, probably.
And then you can't really be trying to kill normal people.
So, well, wouldn't we have to figure out whether or not they actually have that like licensed?
We would, yeah.
Okay, so if you write it in a book, and it's now probably in a magazine, in a book, and probably in several books.
But here's the deal: is that you can't actually trademark something. You can't like trademark a phrase or trademark something that's written somewhere else. That's how people are able to make like motivational posters with other people's phrasing and stuff like that. So
that's true.
So why
they would have actually had to have marketed
make bolters? Like they make bolt. You can get a
I've got a chain gun. I've got a chainsword hanging behind my register. Yeah. I didn't buy that from fucking Games Workshop.
Look at this guy. We're getting ready. He's gonna get ready to get sued by Games Workshop.
I'm in.
Do you know how good that? Do you know how good that would be for Second Pitch?
You know what, Games Workshop? You're not the first one to sue me.
Worst case scenario, you'd get a cease and desist.
Yeah, it's just fine.
It'd be totally fine.
Yeah. But to do something like that, I would want to do I've always wanted to do an ice bock. Have you ever heard of those?
No.
Ice bock is, and we're trying to figure out the legality here in Texas if it can be done. An ice bock is an idea where you make a very high alcohol beer, but then you start freezing it. And the freezing temperature of alcohol is lower than water. Okay. So then when you freeze it, you can start taking the water off the top in ice chunks. And it just distills it down to be higher alcohol, higher alcohol.
So if you did that, then you could call it like Fenrisian mead or fucking some.
Yeah, seriously. Like, do we have to call it Mjord or could we call it like
something else? But the other thing is does Texas consider that distilling?
You're doing more stuff.
Because you're doing other stuff.
That's fair, I guess.
Yeah, so that's the question, but that's getting into laws too.
Yeah, so
that's a whole different type of nerd.
That's a different podcast. So you're a 40K player. You're also a big fan of 40K lore.
I started with 40K because of the lore.
Yeah,
right. The story got you in.
The story 100% got me in.
Right.
I was 100% wrapped into the story. I was on Imager one night and I saw a bunch of 40K memes. And I was like, what is this? And I just then I spent the next 5 days falling down the rabbit hole.
How long have you been in 40K?
Jesus, I don't know. Years. I don't remember.
Years. We're just going with years.
Years.
Do you know what edition you started playing in?
I think I started playing 8th edition.
Okay, so years, but not that many years.
Not that many years.
Oh, okay.
No.
Now, do you play anything else?
No, this is it.
It's 40K. So that's
40K. I've done a little bit of D&D here and there, but it's just the time commitment needed for D&D is just something I cannot do.
That's fair. Now, you're a little bit more like me. You're a little bit more of an old school nerd.
Yeah.
So you're a 40K lore fan, but you're also like me, a 30K lore fan.
Right.
So I'm a much bigger fan of the Horus Heresy lore than I am the
absolutely.
40K lore.
Yeah, anything I like, not only the Horus Heresy, but the pre stuff. I like the Thunder Warriors and all that stuff is fascinating.
Yeah. So
because
I'm like a
that stuff
heresy
could
and
happen.
back
Yes.
kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they're going to have to get around to that. They're going to have to get around to, just like they did when it was all just White Dwarf articles and
before all this like
books,
crazy official, essentially before Abnett got involved and actually
really
gave it a universe.
Really got the Black Library. You just got a couple of short stories and a White Dwarf or whatever they did.
When they were just making it up as they went because it justified a new model.
And you're trying to figure out what's going to be canon and what's not. So I think they'll get around to that eventually. But that stuff is far more interesting than just the average, a bunch of Space Wolves, or because they kind of beat those guys over at this point. There's whoever. Because I'm a Dark Angels fan, so I can't get enough Dark Angels.
God.
Fucking traitor.
God.
Is he a traitor?
Because they got so many problems. They're fucking running a goddamn.
Dark Angels are traitors.
They get their own problems.
They're traitors.
And then no, fuck you.
They're traitors.
And then they're fucking trying to be loyal, and they've got this fucking problem.
Who's he loyal to? The Primarch is loyal to who?
Well, he's
they're
if he's not dead.
they're doing a hard.
Who's he
recon
loyal
on
to?
that, though Games Workshop.
He's loyal to the Emperor.
Bullshit.
They had some issues.
Bullshit.
They had some issues. There was some problems.
That man is loyal to himself. They need to change that emblem to a giant bird painted blue. Is all I'm saying, because that is the biggest blue falcon motherfucker I've ever seen.
How?
Hey, you know these guys that I grew up with that helped me become who I am and like saved my life several times and had my back and did everything.
Hey, motherfucker! My boss is the Emperor,
and then
you fucked the Emperor. You guys,
they literally,
and that's
they
what happens.
gave him the big
get.
flaming dick and said, "Why don't you go home and I'll just ignore you for a good century, and then maybe I'll talk to you later."
We were busy. We had things to do
that were all self-serving.
I was the Emperor. I was serving the Emperor.
Hey, you know that planet that forged you into the weapon you are? Why don't you just go ahead and abandon that bitch and just let it be whatever the fuck it's going to be, right?
Things happen. There's a lot of shady shit on that planet.
As
little fucking weird dwarf guys, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
little fucking
and then
creepy
quite
Jawa
possibly
guys.
made some of the most powerful actual heretic space marines because you weren't paying any fucking attention. Yeah. Cypher's still out there 10,000 years later, just causing shit.
Well, they captured him in the latest book, and then he got away.
Yeah,
of course he did.
Yeah.
Luther's out. Luther's out and about too now.
Yeah, I guess apparently. Poor old fuck. I mean, he was on his last legs at fucking right at during the heresy.
Now you have some other gaming pedigree though too, because
so I mean, I played D&D and I loved AD&D.
So that was my jam. Second edition was.
The second edition AD&D and like Dragonlance, and read all those books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In fact, just read I'm in the middle of the latest book, and I get sidetracked. I'm glad Hickman and Weiss are writing again. The new one is.
If they were going to reboot Dragonlance, those were the authors to go with.
Well, they did it, and I think maybe we'll get a movie at some point. That we're getting a D&D movie. We'll see how.
I'm not looking forward to that.
I think I saw something.
The more and more that's coming out about it, the more and more it just looks like that one that had Damon Wayans in it from the 90s.
So I don't know.
Where they're a bunch of rogues. They're going to go steal stuff. Oh my God, it's scary.
A lot of people have a lot of. There's a lot riding on this. Not quite as much as Amazon has with
the Lord of the Rings.
Wheel.
Lord of the Rings.
The Wheel of Time. Don't even talk about.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
my favorite book series of all time. I had high hopes for those.
Yep.
I read like 6 of those books. I just ran out of steam.
Yeah, me too.
I
got through them, and I was just like, I can't.
I've read all of them multiple times. I'm a huge Wheel of Time
Yeah,
fan.
really.
Yeah, huge Wheel of Time.
And that
fan.
sucks because having your.
So the problem is
having a book that
you love that like that,
and then they're like.
And the problem is they've done that series dirty so many times. So they've tried, right? Like there's been, there was a Wheel of Time RPG. It sucked. There's been board games that have tried to come. Like there's all the stuff that they've tried to do. To take that series and bring it to where you could experience it for more than just the novels.
Right.
And there was actually, so back in like 08, 09, at like 3 o'clock in the morning on the Sci-Fi Channel, there was a pilot episode that came out for when Wheel of Time was supposed to be a series the first time.
Okay.
And it had Billy Zane in it. Do you remember Billy Zane from The Phantom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was in it and like stuff like that. And it was this 30-minute episode. And then it came to find out that these guys, it was like a fan pick. These guys did it and put it out there on the hopes that it would be like, it's going to be awesome. Yeah. And then the Jordan estate was like, hey, you didn't ask us permission to do like any of this.
Probably more accurate than
And no, it would literally, if you've read the books at all, the preface to the first book, it was literally that scene almost line for line. Like it was how they should do books when they bring them to live action. Is just like, just take this and make it a screenplay. Don't reinvent it. Just fucking do this, right?
It's like the same thing that we were just talking about before we turned the mics on was Dune. You know, the HBO Dune thing. You know, they're doing it the right way, I feel like.
It's damn near book for book. I mean, like it's like you feel like, I mean, a lot of the lines are there. It all feels right. Like
it has a good.
And I was a huge fan of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love the 84 Lynch
with Sting.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely fucking great. It was so whack job. It was so good.
That had to do with the director.
Yeah.
Because that's the same guy that directed Twin Peaks and like Eraserhead and shit.
Very
it was campy as fuck. Gross.
But it had to be. Like I saw that movie because we had a snow day. So my mom took me and we had no idea. So for all you youngins, when you went to that movie, you got a primer. It was about 10 pages long. It's probably worth $1 billion on eBay now. Explaining to you what in the F you were getting ready
because
to
that
go
movie
see.
hot starts.
Really?
Like,
yes.
Yeah. Because
so they gave you notes before you walked in?
You got notes because it was so incomprehensible if you hadn't read to the average person. And people thought they were seeing another Star Wars. So they sat down and they gave you this 10-page thing explaining what a Bene Gesserit was and what the spice thing and then the different houses and the Butler and Jihad and all that. You got a little bit of this thing.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And then you sat there and my mother made us walk out when Arya was born, when she drank the water of life. She was literally gross because you saw her in the womb and my mom's like, you know, however old I was in 84, like we're leaving. I was in like 5th grade. Like we're out of here. So then you're like, wait, I'm learning. I hadn't read the books then. So literally the next opportunity I got to go to a bookstore, I started reading and then I read all the books. I've read them several times. So
and that's what's so good about these new ones is that this new one, like if you're a fan of the book and you know, I'd read the book way before I saw the movie. And so you watch the movie and I had the education. I was like, I know the books. So then like it hot starts this movie and you're like, yeah, I kind of know what's going on. I was like, I don't remember Sting being in the book, but yeah, sure. Like we'll go with it.
So you're going to get Elvis who's playing Sting.
Yeah, now it's Elvis,
yeah,
but
it's gonna be Elvis.
But
the actor,
the actor that played in that Elvis movie.
Really? Yeah.
So I didn't watch the Elvis movie, but I know what you're talking about.
Good. But he's playing him. So,
so you're a D&D player, and then you've dabbled in some other RPGs here and there and stuff like that. So
TMNT, Marvel superheroes, but this is back in like the late 80s, early 90s. Riffs, fucking loved Riffs.
Shadowrun. I'm trying to start a Riffs campaign because I got the 30th anniversary book and it's a reprint of edition.
I can definitely get
Well, it's a reprint of edition 1. Yeah. So it's literally word for word of the original book. I want in so bad.
I jumped in on that. It was fun.
Okay. You ever seen the movie? You ever read the magazine or seen the movie Heavy Metal?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So take that.
Okay.
Take D&D.
Okay.
Have an orgy. And the baby that pops out 9 months later, that's Riffs.
With a little anime.
With a little bit of anime thrown into it.
So it's just like a fever dream of...
Yes.
It's like a post-apocalyptic whatever. Yeah. So you have you can be like an animal. You can be... there's a lot of weird stuff.
Do you want to be a druid with a pet Tyrannosaurus Rex?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to be an up armored soldier that has a howitzer mounted on your shoulder, but you have to bolt yourself to the earth before you shoot it?
Of course I do.
Okay. Do you want to be a dude that does so many drugs that you think that you move faster than time?
Yes, these are all things that about me.
But that's
I'm a hard yes.
That's the same game.
I'm a hard yes on all of those.
How about fighting a 15-foot tall skull with spider legs made out of chrome?
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, that's Riffs. That's just that game.
It was a good, well thought out.
That's a great elevator pitch, by the way.
Dude, that's Riffs.
I never. Yeah,
Riffs is bonkers.
So Shadowrun, Twilight 2000. But basically, it was really D&D.
Well, then that's everybody, right? Everybody branches out and you try other stuff, and then everybody comes back to D&D.
I had a friend who we used to play with, and they got into Vampire. and I couldn't get into.
I can't do it.
I couldn't do it.
I can't do it
because the people who play that, a lot of them started out with D&D and then they only played Vampire and it got weird.
Mm-hmm. It gets really weird. And they introduce you with like other names and shit. And they're like, I know my name is James, but you can now call me Bartholomew. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that, dude. Like it's not going to happen.
You're not really like, and my buddy would go play with these people and they were like this, like they became like this clan. Like they believed like
it's hardcore.
The people who get into it and it's still like that. Like he says it and I was like, yeah. My buddy never got into it like that, but he would be like, yeah, they're weird, but they're kind of fucking cool. And a couple of chicks are hot. So I kind of like, and they always used to dress up and he'd be like,
it's hardcore, man.
Oh, it is very vampire. Like they think
it's hardcore. Like people that get into Vampire are like, that's it.
Yeah.
And they may not ever play another role-playing game.
And the thing is that like the only time that they feel like they're actually like being them is during sessions.
Yeah.
And then other than that, they are literally just waiting for the next session. So they just like inject all of that into their real life.
So like, if you want the goth, like hardcore goth, like sort of Victorian goth people, they love that game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's
Anne Rice, you know, like they
Anne Rice. So Anne Rice vampire shit.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Well, they have werewolves too. So like my buddy played a werewolf. I do remember that. And like
would he do the whole thing where he'd cross his arms and say you can't see him? Because that's like a whole thing.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know.
So, you go to like the big cons. So that's how you know a game is fucking weird, right?
Okay.
So like if you go to the big cons, like if you go to PAX or like Gen Con or like any of those, like the big game cons.
Yeah.
First off, the vampire people are always in their own room.
So like they put them off like
so like all the other game cons,
all the nerds are like, you guys are fucking weird.
Yeah. when the nerd community is still like, you go in your room, right? Like you go over there. Then so like everybody else, right? Like you go to PAX or whatever, and you'll have like big open D&D sessions or like big Magic tournaments or like board game whatever. Like it's all going on, right? Mm-hmm. And then there'll be like a room at the convention center and it'll have little signs that'll say like vampire with an arrow. And then there's like a door that just has the symbol on it. And you go in there and they're all in costume, but they'll do shit where they're like standing around with their arms crossed. And it's like that means you can't see them because their character's gone invisible and shit. You're not supposed to interact and whatever. Yeah, it's not like I like to sit around and shoot the shit and roll some dice with my friends.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking eat some Cheetos and have some fucking Mountain Dew and play for the next 30 hours. No, fucking dudes, man. I'm telling you.
You know you're playing a weird fucking game when even like all the rest of the basement dwelling sons of bitches, like the rest of us are like
people
the
like
great unwatched
in the early 80s.
Just like nah.
Like they said, like, you know, D&D's a cult and people are weird. People are getting
it's actually the vampire people.
No, it's the vampire people in like 89 or 90 when that game ever fucking.
And what really sucks is actually the mechanics of the game.
Oh, it's
super good.
Oh yeah,
super good game. The people are just
all
weird
of those.
as fuck.
They made a lot of those games very easy to play. Therefore, you could get into the other parts of the game and get completely. I think in the early 80s, the games that came out were a little bit more complicated game mechanics wise.
The problem is everybody was chasing Gygax, like because D&D had come out and it is so easy to play that everybody was like, well, we can make something that's more complex and you're more involved and whatever. But it was like, but I don't want that. I want to be able to show up 4 minutes before we start playing and just be like, all right, let's fucking do this. So
my bag of dice and my little sheet. And
so you've been a nerd for a long time. I've been a nerd for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, like, just it's a way to blow off steam because
100%.
You know what? I was in the military since I was 17 and deployed and did all that shit. So, and I'm also a political junkie. So I'm doing that plus my job plus this. So when I relax at night, I want to read. So that's
it's
I read
escapism.
my Warhammer shit. I want to be able to relax.
Well, it's escapism. It's the same reason that people like. Binge watch a show or they're super into movies or whatever. It gives you a reason to get out. And so, but now you don't actively play Warhammer, but you are a big lore fan. I'm trying, dude. I'm trying. Actually,
I mean, I've got miniatures, but I've got miniatures.
I got you a present and it's around here somewhere to try and convince you.
Jesus.
So
I don't know.
We're talking about Gaunt's Ghosts. Yes. I have his entire. I've got like 7 guys. I've got all his main dudes, and I got Ibram Gaunt because I love. They're my favorite.
I was so happy when they put the Gaunt's Ghost miniatures out.
They're so good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
They're great.
Most of the Primarchs, or a chunk of the Primarchs, and somebody else is going to finish off the rest of the Primarchs. And I've got like Dark Angel's hit team with surrounding fucking the Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he's my favorite guy. Like I like
is your favorite Primarch? Come on, let's go with this one.
Who's your favorite Primarch and why is it Dorn?
I would say this. I like Dorn.
I know.
I like the White Scars guy.
Jagatai Khan.
Jagatai Khan.
Yeah. I like Dorn. Gilliman, you've kind of turned me off because you rag on him so much.
God,
He's not a fucking bad guy.
Fucking
and I like
hate
Korax. I love fucking Korax because of he's a little weird. Okay.
The emo Primarch?
But I like his chapter.
Kill my mom.
I like their fucking chapter. That Legion's fucking cool. Like they're the special operations guys of the fucking.
By the way, this is the gift I got you because to play 40K, you need a fuck ton of D6s.
Yeah. And
all right. A bunch of D6s. So I got you a bunch of D6s.
Thanks, pal.
Ooh, which ones are they?
But here, you can pass that around to him. He'll know exactly why I'm giving those to him.
I'm scared to know what these things have on them besides. Oh, thanks, buddy. Oh, those are fucking cool.
So I just gave him a pack of D6 because you need D6s to play war games. Like it's just is what it is. But those all in their 6th position have the Globe and Anchor on them.
I appreciate that
because you're part of that cult. So
half that cult, half the bigger cult.
Yeah. So now, as far as my background is concerned,
you're just trying to make money off of the nerddom.
Well, I play a bunch of it. Like that's the problem. But
I can't even keep track of it. And this was before you opened it, obviously.
But yes, I do. So I own a game store here in San Antonio. But we are a game store and bar, which is how you and I became friends because my game store has a craft beer bar in it. And I think I can officially just take that title because I think we're offering like 23 beers in my bar right now from craft beer. So so we're a craft beer bar here.
I
offer 10 and be
actually you have
bar.
to take it to the craft beer committee. And then they have to approve it, double stamp.
Well, that sounds
triplicate.
Way more uppity than I'm willing to do.
They're going to charge you another $1,000 for that.
Exactly, and then you can be officially craft beer.
Yeah,
you know, and you have to also you have the beard, so you're already halfway there.
Oh, there you go. And I'm wearing flannel too, and so we're good.
Yeah, but it's not the right company's flannel.
Yeah, we can move you. We can move you along.
It's the right company to be a posing douchebag. Dixon is not.
Oh yeah, no, it's got to be whatever the fuck the other one is. I like Dixon. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, so as far as the background of the hosts are concerned, there's a lot of lore knowledge and then there's a lot of game knowledge, and it's not necessarily shared amongst the different hosts. So as we said with the warning, there's going to be a lot of shit that we discuss on this show, and you're probably like, well, actually, we don't care.
Dude, I can't remember. And I was worried because you're like, oh, he knows the lore too. And I'm like, oh, shit. But
he knows 40K lore.
But he forgets as much as I fucking forget too. Like that guy, but he knows. I'm like, oh, yeah, that guy. And I'm like, fucking, Loken. Like, I forgot, like,
what his name was.
Because there's like 3 of those fuckers are running around. And what,
in all fairness, the naming structure doesn't exactly help with keeping track of who the fuck is who either.
Yeah.
So
I was telling him, like, the way I approach the 40K and 30K lore is by audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks.
I do the same thing. Like I'm listening to, I'm going back through the Horus Heresy now, but I'm listening to all of it.
Yeah.
One is just time. I don't have the time to sit down and read. Like I don't. But I can work on stuff and listen to it. And I can listen to it on my commute. Like I can do all this. So I'm multitasking.
Yeah.
See, Gilliman would be proud if he wasn't such a fucking bitch.
You're not gonna get. If you're trying to get a fight, I don't have a problem with him.
He's awful.
Really?
And now he's the new traitor.
Whoa! What?
Why?
Name one thing he's actually following that the Emperor laid down.
The guy is a little busy.
I don't care. Name one thing.
He's trying to bring the Dark Imperium back into the fold, like, of the Imperium. Like, that's all he's doing.
Okay. Is he letting the church stand?
Yes.
We'll get around to that. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Will you give him a break?
That's a political move. That is a political move.
Literally, he's been around for a century.
He's been around. Work to done. He's been around 11,000 years. So
no, he's been.
Oh, now?
Yes.
Yeah, now.
Yeah. Why? Would that be because he let a Xenos come in and save his life? Oh, that sounds like it's awfully against the imperial truth. Like,
it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal.
They'll be fine.
Suffer not the Xenos to live.
Well, that's the new. That's the Inquisition, and they do what they do.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a great heel turn though. Like as far as the lore is concerned.
Well,
I'm looking forward to have the conversation because I have my whole theory about where the pivot is going, and you and I have had this conversation offline about where my theory of where I think Games Workshop is pivoting, and like where this is all going. Because in the spring we get the last book, for the Horus Heresy. It's the finalization. It's 66 books, 19 years is how long it's taken to actually tell the entire Horus Heresy.
And they've been saying that there's going to be a huge reveal.
There's going to be a pivot. I think it's also remarkable that book is finishing up, and there's going to be a huge pivot right about the time that they're due to release the new rule set for 40K.
The 10th edition.
10th edition, which will be in June. In my opinion, 10th edition will be in June.
I'm ready for it.
And I think we could probably
Let's do it.
The game needs it.
Yeah.
To be honest, the game.
They did it with Warhammer Fantasy.
Right? They burnt it to the ground. Yeah, started all over, and we got Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
So now, that all being said, that kind of gives you a precursor of what this show is probably going to do. So we are going to talk about lore. We are going to talk about the state of the game, because as much as we all like the lore and we like to discuss the story and the theories, the fact of the matter is the lore drives the game.
Yep.
Like that's all of it exists to support the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to talk about some other stuff too, like
the business of
the business of gaming.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some other role playing stuff as we discussed with with Netrunner and AD&D and all the other stuff. There's some weird ass books behind me actually on the shelf.
The pop culture. I mean, because there's TV shows and books and stuff,
the movies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
and I also love to just talk about just talking beer too.
We're also going to talk beer. So if you look at the title, if you didn't know what the fuck you were getting into, it was called War Hammered. So there's kind of two things that all of us in this room are really into, and that's good drink and good games. And most of the time, both of those things create good conversation. So we decided that instead of just having those conversations in private, we would fucking make all of you fucking listen to it while we were at it. So what about you, buddy? Any goals for the show?
Not much. I just want to.
Good. I'm glad you're setting the standards exactly where they need to be.
No goals.
Yeah.
0 goals.
Yeah. Perfect.
Let's freeform this. This is going to be avant-garde radio.
Fuck yeah. And fair warning. If you're looking for like a meta conversation or like, well, I really think it's not going to fucking happen here.
It's points and all that kind of stuff.
Nope, it's not going to fucking happen. The show will probably be more on the rated R side than it is on the family friendly version of it. So if you and your 12-year-old really like to play a game together, maybe find a different show. This probably
we're not going to get naked per se, but
and not NC-17.
No,
but
we'll say fuck
it's not
more than the once.
Yeah, but hard R.
Hard R.
Yeah.
I like to use the F word a lot.
And we'll probably bring, guests and stuff in.
Yeah,
or
if
whatever.
you want to talk about a goal for a show.
Yeah, what do you
based on the fact that, you're
going to try and get Abnett on the show?
That's a lofty goal, but my goal is because of they're doing the D&D sort of biography thing. Joe Manganiello's doing.
God, I would love to meet him.
I'd love to have him on the show.
I'd love to meet Joe
because what you do here, nobody else is doing, and this is the state of the game. Like this is a piece of what we do.
Well, and that was the goal, right? Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing with this show. Like a lot of the goal with my game store and this show is to kind of highlight that whole concept of like these lonely basement dwellers that play these games. Yeah. That's not true. It's just not. Like I can tell you right now, 95% of my customer base are like very well employed, married dudes, or like they make good money. Like they're
just
especially
normal guys.
They're normal fucking dudes. Especially
cheap
wargaming in general. Whether it's 40K or like we sell a lot of bolt action. A lot of the board game stuff that I sell, Magic the Gathering that I sell, all that kind of stuff. These are not inexpensive games to be involved in. And to be honest with you, to be able to not only afford them, but have the time and the understanding to play a lot of them. Sure. This is not a kid's world. Like this is a hobby.
The books,
they're $50 a copy.
Were fairly expensive. Now
they're $50 a copy.
So it's it's a commitment if you're going to decide to play this
100%. And it's far more balanced than it used to be. There's a lot of female players out there now. Like there's a lot of
support on the internet and I think a lot of this goes to the biggest thing is video games. Video games have made nerddom less nerdy.
Well, to be honest with you, the biggest thing that I'll think is pop culture.
Yeah, the Marvel universe.
It's changed, but
the Marvel
think,
universe and the reboot of Star Wars into now has essentially made it was like I've been a fan of this forever, and it's like now all of a sudden it's okay to be a nerd.
To me, that goes back to video games. I think because you got guys who are jocks who said, "All right, I'll play Madden," and then they're like, "You know what? I want to fucking kill something. So let's come up with," and they can Call of Duty, right? And then they're playing this, and they're like, I like, and then it segues, and I think all that stuff as gaming got more, as console gaming got more sort of intricate, and the graphics got better, and everything else.
Yep.
It kind of and
hey,
then
the number of people that I've put on the table,
yeah,
because they were playing one of these games in its digital format, and now want to get into the actual hobby. The number of people that we've converted over to essentially analog gaming from playing it because they actually like want to be around other humans.
Yeah.
And I played Neverwinter Nights, but I can really go play D&D, which is based on
or all of the Warhammer video games that are out there. The number of people that we've now put into armies because they played the video game, and now it's like, wait, I get to build and paint and like have this thing that's actually mine. And
the best way I've always described Warhammer, for 40K to people is like it's a hobby that you can enjoy 3 different ways. You can enjoy it by loving the lore, reading the books,
and I'm with you. I didn't give a fuck about Warhammer.
Yeah.
Till somebody turned me onto the story.
Yeah, the story. And then you can either get into by just being a hardcore gaming person, like, just getting like, I want to win at the tabletop. Or you can also get it for an artistic point of view too, where it's, you're making these intricate, beautiful models.
Which is what got my
paint shit.
It's what got my that's what got my wife in.
Yeah.
My wife was strictly on the it was the painting the model and having that art piece when she was done.
Yeah.
She didn't give a fuck about playing.
Yeah. And it's great because all 3 people, 3 entirely different types of people can be brought in to this, this gaming system, this world, and feel comfortable and have a space.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason we put the bar in here was, so what we were after was cheers with gaming.
Okay. Yeah.
So we wanted it to where you knew everybody there.
Yep.
You could have your drink. You could have your social aspect. And even if you weren't playing, you could come in, you could get a drink, and it was just like kind of
we've come out and hung out. Or we weren't
and you could just hang out, and you didn't have to play, and it was just a hangout thing. And I've been at your bar, and it's kind of the same thing. You have guys that walk in, and you know their name, and it's kind of that, and it's more of a community builder. And so that's a lot of the approach here was, look, gaming and beer and all this kind of stuff was, we can sit around, we can have that conversation, and it just kind of, it drives that conversation. So,
right. I agree.
And I think craft beer has a lot of the same stuff that gaming does in it, where everybody has their opinions, and they're pretty strongly held opinions about stuff. But what people are willing to do in those communities is they're willing to discuss it. And it doesn't turn into...
That's a really good point. I've never really thought of it that way.
But it doesn't turn into this like, fuck you, da-da-da. Like, you don't run into that. It's just like a... Okay. I hear you, but hear me out. And da-da-da-da.
I hear you. You're wrong.
Right. And so...
Well, I like what I like, and you like what you like, kind of thing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it turns into like... Yeah, but we can sit here and both raise a glass together. We can both play this game, and we each have our flavor. And it's cool.
Your point, your beer or your flavor or whatever you like is good. It's just that's not what I like.
And it's the same thing with gaming, right? It's like you may have the Warhammer players versus the the D&D guys, or this thing with like card players versus miniature players and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, and it's like you still spend your hobby time gaming, like so. There's still this great equalizer that kind of kicks in, and so. Right. It's been really neat to kind of watch the community develop and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
and I think I mean for the other part of the show too is to give Jijax his due on the show as far as being the driving force behind everything.
Gygax was kind of revolutionary, man, and we'll kind of I would love to have a discussion about his history and stuff like that, because I've actually got some of his pre D&D stuff here. Which is there any more of this left?
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Fuck, there's a whole thing of it left.
Yeah, there's a whole thing.
But just and that goes really into the business of gaming, like how he did what he did, and how it went from that to everything we've got now to all of this. So
yeah, God, it's so good. But man, it's everywhere now. Like the number of people that have walked in and just gone like, oh, I know this from here, there, and the other. And it's like, it's so throughout now that, I don't know. It's been really neat. It's been a hell of a journey. And you and I have been friends for a while now, and we didn't find out about the Warhammer thing until quite a bit on into our friendship.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It's just it's neat to see how many walks of life and stuff get involved in this shit. So
and it's funny because we've got a whole bunch of friends who absolutely have no idea when we were talking about this.
So
their eyes glaze over and they're like, "What?"
We'll have like a circle. There's like 10 of us sitting around, right? And then he and I'll get into some fucking rabbit hole, and everybody's just like,
slowly start backing away.
What the hell are you two talking about? And it's like,
yeah,
some of us have actual hobbies, man. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like,
don't just watch football on
Sundays. I hate to tell you this, but alcoholism isn't a personality trait. Like that's not a Jim.
What?
But
I'm not there yet.
Not there. You can't be an alcoholic if you make it. It's just tasting.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Dude, legitimately, I drink less now that I own a brewery than I ever have in my life.
I drink less now that I own a bar.
Yeah. I don't drink. I don't drink at all, ever.
Yeah, like when I go home and stuff like that, my wife's like, "Do you want to drink whatever?" I'm like, "Do we have hot chocolate?"
No.
Like that sounds awesome.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I will take a glass of water.
So why beer over whatever the fuck you were doing? I literally only know him as a beer guy. I have I've
only actually kind of been a beer guy. So my 40K, it's kind of funny. My 40K being Space Wolves and my beer started kind of in the same place. For my last year of college, I lived in Sweden.
That's the state of 40K. Is 40K will just drive you to drink.
Yeah, I lived in Sweden for a year in my last year of college. And so I really loved like kind of the Nordic culture and that kind of stuff and being up there. But when I was up there, I was surrounded by really good beer from Europe. Like it was very readily available. And I was like, holy shit, like there's something other than Natty Light and Bud Light, and I started getting into it and I realized I loved it. So I came back from there, graduated, came back to the Bay Area. I'm from California. And I called every brewery within 50 miles of my house once a week for 3 months saying, "Do you got a job? Do you got a job?
Yeah.
Do you got a job?" Until somebody was just like, "If you stop calling, I'll let you clean kegs."
Yeah.
And then from there, I just kept on going.
So you've been in the industry the whole time?
Yeah. Well, I took a little bit of time off just because, money was a thing that exists in this world.
It does.
And
it does. Especially if you want to play 40K.
Yeah. Right. And then, so I was actually a contractor for the military, doing just kind of data entry kind of stuff at Moffett Field in the Bay Area. And then I was doing that. It was a good job. And if it wasn't for my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time, was like, "Hey, you hate this job?"
And she's lovely, by the way.
She's wonderful. She's Samantha.
She's fantastic.
She was like, "Hey, you really don't like this because it's really just a bullshit job, but you get paid well, and I understand why you're doing it. But do you want to go back to beer?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, please, thank you." And she was like, "Cool. You want to move in, and I can help support us, and you can go back to doing this thing." And I was like, "Yes, that sounds great." And then I got back into beer and started brewing, head brewer, shift brewers, worked my way up to a couple different positions. And then it kind of hit a threshold in the beer world where you kind of get yourself priced out, where it's like, I can either stay at the highest level and make 50K a year, or you go into ownership.
Go be my own.
You have to go do that. And so
that's how the cap works. You essentially like, even it says head brewer or whatever, you're like, it's either this or I own something, and that's it.
And then that's it. I'm like, or you can go in the opposite. There's kind of, you can go, and then from there you can go like out of craft beer, or you can go corporate beer.
Yeah.
Where I was not interested.
Go work for one of the big
Budweiser, Coors, or something like that, and then you can actually,
or one of the fucking big.
So then I wanted to open up my own brewery.
But at that point, you have nothing to do with beer.
Yeah,
like you're
you're working in a factory.
You're moving a commodity.
Yeah,
doesn't matter what you're moving.
Yeah. And so I just wasn't that interested in doing that. And so she's from San Antonio, moved back here to start the brewery. So Texan people do not leave Texas. That is one of those things.
Weird. I mean, I'm not originally from Texas, so it's but and then Jazz just walked off the set.
Just like, go fuck yourself.
I guess like talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Jesus.
Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island. Discuss.
So Sweden,
yeah. So literally just walked into. I was done. I went to the illustrious San Diego State University, and I hated it there.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get out, and it was my last year, and I was just like, fuck. Like I walked into the student center, and I was just like,
can I go?
Who will take me? Where can I go?
Can I go someplace
and
else?
then they were like, well, I want to go speak somewhere where I speak English. I'm not good at languages.
Yeah.
I'm not. And so they were like, well, you can go to England, which is impossible to get into. You can go to Ireland, which is impossible to get into.
Yeah.
Or you can go to Sweden, and they let everybody in.
Yeah.
And I was just like, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm out. So I did that, and it was wonderful. It's a beautiful fucking place. I couldn't believe how amazing.
I've been to Norway.
Yeah.
but I wasn't on vacation.
Yeah. I went to lived in
courtesy of the United States Marine Corps. So yeah, they're people over there are very nice.
very nice.
They're
2 drink minimum on a personality though, is what I always say.
Really?
Yeah.
Before it switches the other, but it's a very well organized society. Like the Norwegians, the Swiss, the Danes. They're all nice.
They're nice people.
They're nice.
Good guys.
Like it's kind of like the warrior spirit has been bled out of them to an extent. But
yeah, well, they had their time in this.
So every person I've ever met from over there had a switch. And it was like they were incredibly nice to a point, but you will find that point,
well, really,
and then that
deep down inside there somewhere, they
they're
want to just go rape and pillage nuns.
They're still
like,
here
I
to
don't
just
know what it is.
they're still here to make something awful.
I want to go fucking bugger a monastery. And
it gets real bad real fast. Like so,
and it's usually that's why I always say it's like they're about a 2 drink minimum from getting like a little bit, getting a little bit sideways at you.
Yeah. So,
but they are very reserved and just goes.
All right, so now that we've essentially told you absolutely nothing about what this fucking show is going to be about, fucking. Stick with it because it was gonna. I have a feeling it's gonna get fucking weird. I know these guys, and the conversations ought to be interesting. We just don't want to deep dive too much because it's episode 1, and we can end up in all these fucking tangents. We're supposed to have topics. Trying to control myself. Oh, because it's gonna get
we're gonna get. I'm like you always have like at BattlePub here. There's always that question of the day thing.
Yeah,
and the one that has been up there for a while, which I'm just like, oh man, are we doing this? Like, what is it?
So right now on the back of we have a D&D on the back of the board, which is drinking debate.
Yeah.
And right now it's Magnus versus Russ, who was wrong.
Magnus.
Get the fuck out of here right now.
I'm a space wolf person.
See, this is like a whole thing. That's like a whole episode of just having that discussion.
What
right
kind
now.
of fucking moron says, oh, the Emperor has created this fucking shield doing now the Emperor
first off, the Emperor didn't tell anybody anything.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. I understand that. However, Justin's over there like, you fucking nerd.
Right. So we have a producing team right now, and none of them have any fucking idea what we're talking about.
So if I run into like a locked door, the door's locked for a fucking reason. And knowing that the Emperor does whatever the fuck, they know the Emperor. Like
No, they don't. No, they don't. There's your first fucking mistake.
No, like he knew something was up.
No,
he knew something was up.
Absolutely not.
Couldn't he have just?
I have seen Mia Khalifa's asshole. I wouldn't say I know her.
Talk to the fucking Siligate and be like, hey, fucking, what's
the Sigillite?
Whatever the fuck his name
is.
The
Sigillite doesn't fucking give them any information either.
Yeah, he
could have done fucking. Hey man, what's going on with the Emperor?
That dude,
I have a message. Bad shit's coming down. No, I'm just gonna blow through the fucking wards and try to. Oh, by the way, what the fuck?
Do you know why he was going like, "Hey, your chosen of chosen is on his way to fuck you"?
I think he was,
I'd like to let you know.
He had a little animosity towards the fucking Horus.
No, Magnus was literally trying to do the fucking right thing.
Besides, even if you say he's wrong, goddamn, what is Russ's whole reason for being? He's the fucking Punisher. He's the Watcher who makes sure you don't fuck up. What was his job?
Lehman Russ is the biggest fucking hypocrite in the entire fucking 40K universe. Oh, I don't know. He sat on the council where he damned Magnus and all of his dudes for being psychers while at the same time were maintaining his high priests that sat there and howled at the moon so they could use psychic powers to fight. And then went and literally got the 1,000 Suns it made it to where no legion was allowed to use psychers except him.
And the Khan.
And the Khan.
Yeah.
No, they had the Khan wasn't at that. The Khan was at that council.
He wasn't there.
But he was able to use his seers.
And by the way, Russ literally sent his fucking high priest to go hang out with the T-Sons for a while, made friends with that motherfucker to get information. They came back and was like, nope. They're fucking. They commune with the fucking unclean.
I have a different reason for the fucking Emperor.
And then
if I was the Russ, I'd be like, you guys do whatever the fuck it is you do. My job is to make sure you don't fuck up. So, and I have to use everything in my power to make sure you don't fuck up, including my fucking little psycher guys.
Yeah, but you know what? He also took that fucking command to go fuck Magnus over. He didn't even take it from the Emperor. So you can't even say it was a loyalty thing.
I feel bad for those guys. But if you're asking
they got fucked.
If you're asking me who's wrong,
it's Russ.
No, fuck him.
It's Russ.
Great.
No.
He had a job to do.
Worst lore Primarch ever. Love the Legion, hate the Primarch.
Really?
See?
Oh, we can have that discussion, sir.
Wow.
Love the Legion, hate the Primarch.
Wow.
Yep. Love the Legion, hate the Primarch.
I don't know.
I'm actually the same way with the Angels. Love the Legion, hate the Primarch.
Really?
The Dark Angels?
I'm not going to fucking throw Lionel Johnson is not the fucking hill I'm going to die on. But fucking Lehman Russ, really? He's got one job,
Fuck
and
that
he
guy.
did it.
Fuck that guy.
Or
But
he might have
also-
done it 2 more
Fuck
times.
that guy.
But
Who knows?
also, like, okay, to see your point of like Lehman Russ is like the executioner. This
Yeah.
is what he does. He
Yeah.
walks into the room, he wrecks shop.
He's not, though.
Like, don't
He's not,
fucking
though.
do it again.
He's
and
not the-
leaves.
Yeah.
But he's not the original executioner. He's not.
Who was the original one?
Angron.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
Angron's batshit crazy.
But that's why he was the executioner.
But he's no. But
He's such the executioner that the Emperor, before the heresy, actually told his boy, he was like,
had
hey,
to be
Horus,
reined in.
I'm going to need you to get Angron and put that bitch on a leash.
Yeah.
Like,
because he's
hold him back. Because
There
he's
was never
lost
a
his
time,
shit.
though, when the Emperor was like, hey, Angron, go waste that entire fucking solar system. But there's been plenty of times where Lehman Russ probably wasted 2
Bullshit.
fucking prime.
Russ was told that he was supposed to just go fucking talk to his brother and tame that bitch.
I know.
And instead,
then
what he did
Horus
is burnt
fucking-
his planet to the
well,
ground.
Horus fucking
Horus
got
fucked him.
into his head.
So you're saying that Russ is enough of a bitch that one dude could be like, I know what daddy told you,
No, he
but I
didn't-
think I know
you
better.
said- you said he didn't even get the order from the Emperor.
Which
He
means that,
only got
he
the
was
order
supposed to
from
bring-
the
he was
Horus.
supposed
which means
to
he's
bring him
also
back.
still not a loyalist because
was
he was willing
supposed
to
to
take a
bring him
command
back
from somebody that
to
wasn't
that
his
he
dad.
didn't know that was who's the War Master. He is the second in command. He's the guy. Emperor says, "Hey, I got shit to
That
do."
makes him a mouth breathing bitch. That doesn't make him somebody that should be
we follow the fucking
respected.
chain of command.
But yeah.
We follow the fucking
Yeah,
chain of
that's a
command.
chain
here
of
in the
command.
fucking-
None of the Primarchs do that, but him.
Well, he is very loyal. He follows. the chain
Dorn
of command.
fucking does. You know why Dorn? Because they're Nazis. That's the Nazi chapter.
No, you know what? You're not wrong. You're not
Sigismund,
wrong.
Fucking German name.
Let me hit you with the only loyal chapter ever before we sign this
Oh,
bitch
I know where
off.
this is going.
Oh, you know. The only loyal chapter. The only real Legion. The only one that actually holds
hit me
up the
with it.
imperial truth.
Yeah, hit me with it.
Which one?
Who
My
do you think?
boys of the serpent.
Who do you think? You tell me.
The Alpha
no,
Legion.
let Jim.
Oh,
Oh, he's so
come
full
on.
of shit.
The Alpha Legion is the
Come on.
only loyal Legion. And from there, I'm going to say thank you to Second
No,
Pitch Beer Company.
I want to point out. one
Oh,
thing.
no. I'm going to go ahead and sign this off. Thank you to Second Pitch Beer Company for sponsoring Warhammered.
Yes, I appreciate it.
And I think the first major debate that we can have on this show is why the Alpha Legion is actually the only real loyal Legion
They're
and why
bullshit.
everybody else is second place.
No.
But Second Pitch Beer Company, we can't thank you enough for
Thank you.
sponsoring
Absolutely,
Warhammered.
buddy.
Next time,
To my boys Jim and Jim.
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 We fucking love you all. And to everybody out there, we highly encourage you
So,
to
so as we go, we're gonna have things.
we're gonna have things.
We don't have things yet.
We don't have things yet. But right now, we're going to encourage you to participate in beer,
Mhm.
games, and hijinks.
Jigs. Era.